Hello everyone and welcome. In this installment of my Procreate for Beginners series, we're going to be taking a look at selections. If you don't already know, this is a series, so I do have other videos in the series as well. I have done many prior to this, and I'm doing a few after this as well. And all of those videos will be available in my Procreate and Digital Art playlist on my channel. I will link that here and also in the description. Okay, let's get started. Alright, so I opened a screen size document as usual. Gonna add some text because I told you I was going to do that when I did a text video. Just gonna write spring flowers again. Alright, so I'm actually going to separate these a bit so I can select them when it gets to that. Make it a little bigger. Alright, looks good. Alright, so selection tool is this one right here. And it brings up this menu down here. We're going to go through all these things in a minute. But these four things up here are basically the four types of ways you can select something on your layer. It'll automatically come up with freehand the first time on a new canvas. And then we have all these things down here as well. I will talk about those too. So, freehand, basically, so you can start drawing on the canvas to select certain things. So let's say for some reason we wanted this FL here and the SP. So basically, you can just select something like that. And in order to actually select it, you have to either press again where this started, where this gray circle is. And you see that there's this white thing here where I selected, and everything else has these diagonal lines over it. So that's one of the ways you can select it. But I'm going to go back and show you the other way real quick. So I'm going to press this again to deselect, press it again to select, and bring up the selection menu. And I'm going to do the same similar thing. It's not going to look exactly the same, but you can hit add down here, and that will also do the same thing. We'll talk about these again. But for freehand, you either have to hit the node or the add button again in order to actually select something. And you'll know that something's actually selected when these diagonal lines are on everything else on the canvas. So that's freehand. I'm going to undo this using two fingers, the gesture that you can undo with unless you've changed it to something else in your gestures menu. But anyway, let's go to automatic. So automatic, you can select, let's say you wanted to do every other letter. Whoops, I didn't mean to select the background. All right, and then for some reason you want to do every other letter. And you'd see that all of those letters are now like the inverted color from what they were. That means they're selected. So then you'd be able to do something with all those. Talk about what you can do once things are selected in a minute. I'm just showing you how to select things right now. So Another thing to note with automatic is, I'm going to undo all this for now. If you click on something and hold, you see that that selection threshold shows up on the top there. This isn't going to do much probably on here because, well, other than if you bring it all the way over, it's going to select everything on the layer. But depending on what you have drawn on the layer is going to kind of, the selection threshold will grab parts of it, or, you know, more of it if you bring it over, and then all of it if you bring it all the way over. So it's kind of the same as the color drop threshold that I showed you when we talked about color. Obviously, if you click anywhere outside, it'll get the background, so you could do like all of this as well. But automatic is basically you can just click on things. And I forgot to show you, going back to freehand, you don't have to drag everything like this. You can, if it's easier, start somewhere and kind of do this where you're selecting by taps, like it just follows your pencil. You don't have to drag it the whole way. And this helps get a finer thing sometimes. Because if they're, I separated the letters out. But if you're trying to get in between two letters that weren't separated out very well, you'd have to kind of get in there. Whereas if you were doing this, you could be able to do something a little finer like that. And you wouldn't have to worry about accidentally getting too much. However, there is a way to take some stuff off after you've selected it. I'll show you that in a minute. By the way, it should already be selected, but if it's not, you should have add on, because that will add anything that you're selecting. So when it's blue like this, it's on. So just so you know. Going to rectangle, you can just make an easy rectangle. Let's say we wanted to get flowers here. Oops, I missed part of it. Let's say you wanted to get flowers here by a rectangle. You just do that. So you're selecting only flowers and not spring. That way. So you can do a similar thing with ellipse. Let me undo this. You can do a similar thing with ellipse, but let's say for some reason you didn't want that stuff up there, but you make an ellipse and grab, you know, with an ellipse. If it's easy to just kind of do that, you can do that. Otherwise, automatic freehand are usually what I use. Now, that's the ways you can select something. Now, what you can do, a couple different things. Let's put it back on freehand. So let's say, again, you were trying to get just this F. And again, if these were closer together, it would be a little harder. But let's say I accidentally got this L in here too, and I only wanted the F. Well, let's add it first. So remember, you have to click on the node or the add button to actually select it. You can hit the remove button and remove something if you want. So let's say you didn't want this in here. So you see now that deselected that. So you can add or remove things as you want. Then you can also, I'm going to keep that selected for now, the invert is it's going to select everything else. Everything that's diagonal lines right now that's not selected, it's going to select that instead of that. So it's going to invert the selection. Now copy and paste is going to do exactly what it says. So it's going to copy whatever's selected and paste it on a new layer. I have to kind of draw something else on here just to show you this. So select. Now, all right, I'm just going to grab this and I'm going to do copy and paste. And what that did was it grabbed the selection from that layer and copied and pasted it onto a different layer. Now if there was, actually let me show you this one more time, just so I can show you the difference. So I'm going to select only part of that rather than the whole thing. And I'm going to copy paste. Now you see that just that part got pasted onto a new layer, not the entire thing. So it's copying whatever you selected and pasting on a new layer. But because it's only copying and not cutting, it's keeping the original intact. So it's not going to cut it out of that layer. All right, let's turn that off, go back to here. So feather is, let's say again you selected something and if you do feather, if you click it, you see how that selection's kind of changing a bit, like it kind of feathers out the selection. That's if you want to make like a little bit of a finer adjustment after you've selected something. Like maybe you're getting a little close to that L, let's feather it out a little bit, and then you just got the F selected, basically. Save and load I'll come back to in a minute. Color fill is, you can make a selection on the screen and then fill it with whatever color you have up here selected. So basically if you wanted to make like solid shapes on your, like either rectangles or ellipses on your canvas, this would be a really easy way to do it. You can also do it freehand. So if you want to quickly make like a weird shape freehand, you could color it in. And if you have color fill filled in, then you don't have to keep hitting it. So you can just keep making different shapes on the canvas. Because color fill is still on, turning it off just like that and it takes it away. So that's that. Clear will clear your selection. So let's say you were trying to grab this and then you decided, oh wait, I have to do something else first. Without clicking off of the selections menu, you can hit this clear button and this will stay up and you won't have to go back in, basically, which is kind of annoying. So that's why that's there. All right, let's talk about kind of things you can do with selection once something is selected. So let's just grab this, select it, and one of the main things you can do, and we're not going to do this in this video, but you can hit this transform tool and do a bunch of different things to it, whatever you've selected. We're going to talk about that in the next video, in the transformations video. But there are a few other things you can do. You can paint inside this selection. Let's get a different color. And this would probably be better with the automatic selection rather than the freehand, but it doesn't really matter. So once this is selected, you can paint, smudge, erase just in the selection. So see, it's not affecting anything else on the canvas. It's just that whatever's selected. And obviously you'd be able to do a color drop as well, depending on what you're trying to color. And you can do a smudge, so you can smudge this, but you're not going to be able to smudge anything up here. All right, that is smudge, so you can also erase. So, but you're not going to be able to erase anything that's not selected. So it's kind of another mask kind of thing that you can do with selections. So I'm going to undo this. Now something I can show you. So I'm going to just select this again. And I'm just going to do something real quick to this. Not that we have to necessarily. All right. So now if you see what I kind of rushed through that. If you see what I did there, I deselected what I had just done, and then I hit the selection tool again, but I held it down. It's going to come up with the exact same selection I just did after I'm done doing it. So if you want to do something again, or if you accidentally clicked off of it, you could do something like that. You can also use the undo button. But once you come out of the selection menu, you're not going to be able to undo back to getting your selection back. But if you were in your selections menu and you did this and say, oh, actually, let's remove this part for some reason. You can undo your selections while you're still in this menu, but once you click out of it, you're not going to be able to undo it anymore. So that's why you would want to hit clear. All right, so another way that you can kind of save something, even if it's not something you just did, you can, let's say we wanted to save this. You can go to save and load, and then just the plus sign here will give you selection 1, and then that's saved. So you can come out and then go back in, and then, actually I want the whole flowers. Okay, so you can select that and save that, and you see selection 1 is still here. You can save flowers also in selection 2. All right, so you can go back into selections, and then you can go back to that and do something, and then decide, oh, I want to go back to here and do something else, and then I want to go back here and do something again. So if you're going to be doing something to a certain spot on the canvas over and over again, you might want to do something like this with the save and load. So those are ways to kind of save, whatever you've selected. Similarly, I showed you this on the layers video, but if you go to your layers and go to one of your layers, this is the one I have selected right now, you can actually select everything on the layer. It'll just automatically select everything on the layer. And then you can do, whatever you want to do with it. Let's say you wanted to color drop. And you could color different colors into these letters if you wanted to. But you see that everything else is diagonal. You're not gonna be able to color drop anything on those layers, which is nice because sometimes when I'm trying to color drop, and I don't do anything like this, I accidentally color drop it into the whole background when I don't want to. So this is a way to get around that. Also, if you did alpha lock, it would do the same thing. And we talked about that in the mask video and the layers video, I believe. But anyway, so that's something you could do there. Now I have one more thing to show you. In the wrench, the actions menu, if you go to preferences, I think if you saw this video, the gestures video, I was kind of going through this. I think it was the gestures video. And I was kind of like, I don't know what this is. I figured out what it is. This is for those diagonal lines that you saw. Automatically it's down on like 30 or something like that. Something close to 30. Let me just show you. So let's say You see how the diagonal lines are like lighter now than they were when I first started this video? That's because I changed it so you could see it a little better in the settings or the actions menu. So I'm actually going to bring that back up. You don't want it to be too, I'll show you what it looks like when it's too heavy. Because that's kind of really distracting, and if you have other things on this layer that you're trying to see while you're trying to work on this, it's going to be a little bit too much, I think. So I put it at 60, and I kind of liked it there, so I'm going to put it back there. That's close enough. So anyway, that's that. I don't think there's much else to say about selections in itself. I'll give you a little teaser on the next thing. So we're going to talk about once something is selected. Let's just select something real quick. You can go to this transform tool and you can do a bunch of other things to it. So that's what we're going to talk about in the next video. So I'll see you there. As I just said, the next video coming out will be the transformations video. I have that one just about all set. It will come out the next day or two. I've also added the category of blend modes. That is what I talked about in the layers video. And I said I'd go through all the blend modes and tell you what they are. So we will do a video on that. Similarly, we're going to be going through the brush library. I'm going to show you all the different brushes that are preloaded onto Procreate and what you can do with them. And then we're going to be looking also at the brush studio a little more deeply and go through all those little categories in there and show you what changes you can make to make your own brushes. And then after we do that, I am going to show you a few different simple brushes you can make on your own. We will also be looking at the adjustments menu. And then we're going to take a look at the animation feature in Procreate. And I will do a few different videos of simple animations you can do as well. And then that etc. category is all the miscellaneous stuff that doesn't really fit into anything else. So that's what you have to look forward to. And I'll see you in the next one, the transformation video coming out very soon.